First, then, let us show that the knowledge of particulars cannot be lacking to God. For it was shown above that God knows other things inasmuch as he is the cause of them. But the effects of God are singular things. For in this way God causes things, inasmuch as he causes them to exist in an act. But universals are not subsisting things, but have existence only in particulars, as is proved in Metaphysics 7. Therefore God knows things other than himself, not only in the universal, but also in the particular. Again, having known the principles from which the essence of a thing is constituted, it is necessary to know that thing, just as, having known a rational soul and such a body, man is known. Now the singular essence is made up of designated matter and individuated form. Just as the essence of Socrates consists of this body and this soul, just as the essence of the universal man consists of soul and body, as is clear in chapter 7 of the Metaphysics. Hence, just as these things fall within the definition of the universal man, so they would fall within the definition of Socrates if it could be defined. Whoever therefore has the knowledge of matter, and of those by which matter is designated, and of the forms individuated in matter, cannot lack singular knowledge. But the knowledge of God extends even to matter, and to individualizing accidents and forms. For since his own understanding is his essence, it is necessary that he understand all that are in any way in his essence, in which power, as in the first origin, are all things that have existence in any way, since it is the first and universal principle of being, from which matter and accident are not alien, since matter is a being in potentiality and accident is a being in another. Therefore God does not lack knowledge of particulars. Further, the nature of a species cannot be perfectly known unless its primary differences and proper passions are known. For the nature of number would not be perfectly known, if even and odd were unknown. But the universal and the particular are differences, or in themselves the passions of being. Therefore, if God, knowing his essence, perfectly knows the common nature of being, it is necessary that he perfectly knows the universal and the particular. But just as he would not perfectly know the universal if he knew the intention of universality and did not know a universal thing, such as a man or an animal, thus he would not know the singular perfectly if he knew the nature of the singularity and did not know this or that singular. It is therefore necessary that God should know particular things. Still, as God himself is his being, so it is to know his own, as has been shown. But from the fact that it is his being, it must be that all the perfections of being are found in him, as in the first origin of being, as stated above. Therefore the perfection of all knowledge must be found in his knowledge, as in the first source of knowledge. But this would not be the case if he lacked the knowledge of particulars, since in this lies the perfection of some who know. It is therefore impossible for him not to have knowledge of particulars. In addition, in all the ordered virtues this is commonly found, that the superior virtue extends to many and yet is unique, while the inferior virtue extends to fewer and yet is multiplied with respect to them, as is evident in imagination and sense. For the one power of imagination extends to all that the 5 powers of the senses know, and to many more. But the cognitive power in God is higher than in man. Whatever then man knows by different powers, that is, by the understanding, imagination, and sense, God considers this in his one simple understanding. He is therefore cognitive of particulars, which we apprehend by sense and imagination. Further, the divine intellect does not derive knowledge from things as ours does, but rather through its own knowledge it is the cause of things, as will be shown below. And thus the knowledge it has of other things is in the manner of practical knowledge. But practical knowledge is not complete unless it reaches the particulars, for the end of practical knowledge is the operation which is in the particulars. Therefore, the divine knowledge that he has about other things extends even to particulars. Still, first the mobile is moved by the moving motor through the intellect and the appetite, as was shown above. Now a mover could not cause motion through the understanding unless he knew the mover, inasmuch as it was born to be moved according to its place. Now this is insofar as it is here and now, and consequently insofar as it is singular. The intellect, therefore, which is the motor of the first mover, knows the first mover insofar as it is singular. God is said to be the mover, and thus the purpose is considered, or something that is below God. If his intellect can know by its own unique power, which our intellect cannot, much more will the intellect of God be able to do this. Again, an agent is more honorable than patient and active, as the act of power. A form, therefore, which is of a lower degree, cannot by action bring its likeness to a higher degree. But the higher form will be able, by acting, to bring its likeness to a lower degree. Just as from the incorruptible powers of the stars, corruptible forms are produced in these lower ones. But a corruptible power cannot produce an incorruptible form. Now all knowledge is effected by the assimilation of the knower and the known. Yet it differs in this, that assimilation in human knowledge is effected by the action of sensible things into human cognitive powers. But in the knowledge of God it is conversely by the action of the form of the divine intellect into things known. Therefore the perceptible form of a thing, since it is individualized by its materiality, the similitude of its singularity cannot lead to the fact that it is completely immaterial, but only up to the forces which use material organs. But it is brought to the understanding by virtue of the acting intellect, inasmuch as it is completely stripped of the conditions of matter, and thus the similitude of the singularity of the perceptible form cannot reach as far as the human intellect. Now the similitude of the form of the divine intellect, when it reaches down to the smallest things, to which its own causality reaches down to the singularity of sensible and material form. Therefore the divine understanding can know particulars, but not the human, insofar as it is entirely stripped of the conditions of matter, and thus the similitude of the singularity of the perceptible form cannot reach as far as the human intellect. Now the similitude of the form of the divine intellect, when it reaches down to the smallest things, to which its own causality reaches down to the singularity of sensible and material form. Therefore the divine understanding can know particulars, but not the human, insofar as it is entirely stripped of the conditions of matter, and thus the similitude of the singularity of the perceptible form cannot reach as far as the human intellect. Now the similitude of the form of the divine intellect, when it reaches down to the smallest things, to which its own causality reaches down to the singularity of sensible and material form. Therefore the divine understanding can know particulars, but not the human. In addition, it would follow that what the philosopher brings against Empedocles is inconvenient, namely, that God is most unwise if he does not know particulars, which men also know. And this proven truth is also confirmed by the sacred authority of Scripture, for it is said in Hebrews 4:13, "There is no creature invisible in his sight." Even the opposite error is excluded from Wisdom 16:16. Do not say, "I will be hidden from God, and from above who will be remembered for me." It is also clear from what has been said that the objection made to the contrary does not properly conclude. For that which the divine intellect understands, even if it is immaterial, is nevertheless a similitude of both matter and form, as the first productive principle of both.